The first time Elias saw a woman wearing a ring, he was 4. It wasn't just any ring, it was a shimmering emerald set in a band of gold, the green stone glinting like a captured sunbeam. He stared, mesmerized, and a feeling bloomed in his chest, warm and fuzzy, like a soft blanket. It wasn't just the ring, it was the woman herself, her flowing red dress, the way the light danced in her hair, and the delicate chain on her neck. Elias, with his brown eyes and perpetually messy brown hair, was his father's clone, a mini-me expected to follow in his footsteps, to be stoic and strong. But Elias, under the surface, was drawn to the sparkle, to the beauty of the things that made his mother so vibrant. He loved her jewelry, the delicate chain with a tiny heart pendant she wore every day, the silver bangle that jingled with every movement of her hand. He loved the way she used makeup, the way the lipstick she wore made her lips look like ripe cherries. This urge, this feeling he wasn't quite able to name, grew with him. It was like a tiny seed planted deep in his heart, nurtured by every glittering thing he saw, every graceful movement of a woman he observed. By the time he was 10, he would sneak into his mother's closet, try on her silk scarves and dangle earrings, mimicking her movements in front of the mirror. He'd imagine himself as her, a beautiful butterfly, free and radiant. His father, a man of hard lines and unwavering tradition, wouldn't understand. He was a man of action, of strong shoulders and calloused hands, a man who built things, not adorned them. He saw Elias' fascination with jewelry as a childish whim, a phase that would pass. He frowned at it, discouraged it, even yelled at him for being silly. But his mother, with her gentle eyes and a heart that understood silent whispers, saw the yearning in her son. She saw the flicker of pain when he was chastised, the way his eyes would dim, the way he retreated into himself. She understood, though she never said it aloud, the longing for something more, something beyond the rigid framework of his father's expectations. One afternoon, after a particularly harsh scolding from his father, Elias stormed into his room, tears blurring his vision. His mother followed, the faint scent of lavender and jasmine filling the air as she sat beside him. Without a word, she took a velvet box from her purse, revealing a small, delicate silver ring with a single, tiny pearl. "This was my grandmother's," she said softly. She always said, "A bit of sparkle makes life brighter." It wasn't a confession, but it was an unspoken understanding. It was a seed of encouragement, a permission to step outside the confines of his father's expectations. The next day, Elias walked into the jewelry shop, the bell above the door tinkling as he entered. He was nervous, his heart pounding a frantic beat against his ribs. He looked at the silver rings, the golden chains, and then at the ear studs, glistening like tiny stars. He took a deep breath, the air heavy with the scent of polish and perfume. "Can I get my ears pierced?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The jeweler, a middle-aged woman with a kind smile, met his gaze and nodded. "Of course, dear. You know, you're not the first man to get his ears pierced." She cleaned his earlobes, her gentle touch a balm to his nervousness. He closed his eyes as the needle went through, the pain a sharp, momentary sting. He opened his eyes, looking at the tiny silver studs glittering in his ears. He smiled, a feeling of exhilaration flooding through him. It was just a tiny step, a first taste of a world that had been forbidden. But for Elias, it was the beginning of a journey towards embracing the essence of who he truly was, a journey that, with the love and support of his mother, would lead him to a place where the sparkle wasn't just something he admired, it was something he embodied.